Hello. Hello. My name is Ashley Kirkwood with the Speaker Ready Cash podcast, founder of Speaker Ready Cash and Mobile General Counsel. Today, we're talking about some myths that I have found people believe about landing a six-figure contract. And I want to burst these myths because I'm knee-deep in planning and preparation for Speaker Ready Cash Live. And one thing that I'm encountering, one thing that I'm seeing when people have these myths or they have these belief systems, it really does keep them from landing the contract of their dreams. So let's just go ahead and get started. One, the biggest myth, I don't know if it's the biggest, but one myth that I see speakers have all the time is like, if I were to land a six-figure contract, I would have to do a lot of work to land a contract that quote unquote large. So that's a big one. That's a big one, that I would have to do a ton of work to land a six-figure contract. I have to literally throw the kitchen sink in there if I were to land a large contract like that. So that's the reason why, I can't land a six-figure contract, is because it's just too much work. I have to put so much stuff in there. And that's not true. That's not true. And not only is that not true, but that belief system is likely the very thing that's keeping you from pitching the engagement, because you believe, one, that you'd have to do all the work, and two, that it's going to be a lot of work. Some of our largest contracts have not included like a large amount of services. And I'll give you an example. We have a contract that we recently closed, and the contract consisted of, I believe, like 5 workshops, 2 consulting calls, six-figure contract. 5 workshops, 2 consulting calls, a six-figure contract, just over $100,000 contract. 5 workshops, 2 consulting calls. That's the contract. $115,000 contract. So I want to burst the first myth that you have to do a lot of work, that you have to include a lot of work within the contract, that you have to include a lot of work within the contract. The second myth that I hear a lot that really keeps people from landing these six-figure contracts, or higher, right? Or higher, is that they believe that if they're just starting out, like if they haven't been speaking long, they don't qualify to pitch for certain contracts because they haven't been speaking long. They haven't been doing it a long time. And so therefore they don't qualify. They can't be the type of person that would land this type of a contract. Now, here's what I'll say. Speaking is one, these contracts don't only include speaking. So for people who are like, well, I'm not a speaker, I'm a consultant, or I'm not a keynoter, I do workshops, or I design curriculum, I don't speak at all. Will your process work for me? Should I still come to Speaker Ready Cash Live? Should I still join the Speaker Ready Cash community, etc.? And the answer is yes. We are not all keynote speakers. We are not all workshop presenters. Some of us are also consultants. And so when I'm talking about these contracts, I don't mean like keynote speaking contracts. I mean contracts that include a portion of speaking services, but speaking services are very broad. It's not just one thing. And what I personally believe clients should do is sell the solution you like to provide. Sell the solution you like to provide. That way you don't end up hating your business. Now, a big thing that I will tell you guys is that if you're just starting out as a speaker, that's one thing. Speaking is simply one avenue to deliver a transformation. It's one avenue to deliver a transformation. It is just the vehicle. You could very well be just starting out as a speaker, meaning you haven't done 50 keynote speeches. You're not really a performer. You know your stuff, but that, like, performing and getting on stage and doing all that isn't really your thing. But you've been working in your underlying field for like 10 or 15 years. And if that's the case, you should charge for that. You should 100% charge for that. So if you're new to speaking, you're new to delivering your transformation through that vehicle, okay, but the question isn't, are you new to speaking? The question for this consideration is, are you experienced in the underlying expertise? Are you experienced in the underlying expertise? And let me give you an example. If you're a life coach, you've been coaching people for 5 to 10 years. big gap, but whatever, go with it. You've been coaching people for 5 to 10 years. You've written books on coaching and confidence and mindset. You've done all those things. You've been doing that for a while. You just haven't been speaking, then we're still good. We're still good because the testimonials that you're going to show to your corporate clients will be the results that you've gotten for your consumer clients. It's not a matter of whether or not you've delivered the result in the vehicle that you're selling. It's a matter of, do you know your underlying expertise? Do you have a formula for getting clients results? If speaking is a new vehicle, then it's a new vehicle. That's fine. But the underlying results, the underlying expertise, all that stuff isn't new. So that's a good thing for you. That's a good thing for you. You don't have to worry about, feeling like you don't have enough experience to do what we teach, because you have the underlying expertise. So that's the second myth, is that you have to be doing it a really long time. No, you need to have legitimate expertise. You need to be able to get your clients results. You need to have some evidence that you can get your clients results, that you can show other clients. But at the end of the day, speaking is just a vehicle. So that's not the consideration there. And I'll be honest with you all about this. I don't have a lot of clients who are like, okay, send me a list of every single corporate client you've ever done this for. We had one client that asked to speak to our former corporate clients, and we sent them a list of 2 or 3 that they could call that agreed to talk to them, because, being a lawyer, some of the trainings that we do are like compliance training or DEI training, and we agree to confidentiality clauses, etc. But some of my clients were like, sure, I'd be happy to talk to a potential client of yours and tell them about what you do. She talked to them, and then we move forward in contracting. But for the most part, we don't have clients who are like, wait, what? Like, I need proof. Show me, give me a list of every client you work with. I want to see footage of the entire speeches that you've given. And sometimes they'll ask for that, and you'll have approved footage to show and all of that. But for the most part, that's not going to be the thing that costs you the deal. What costs people the deal when landing these 6-figure contracts, when we're negotiating these licensing deals, when people are in the pitch process and they don't land the contract, what costs them the deal, what costs them the engagement is oftentimes they don't have a clear process that they're taking clients through. So their sales process, like they don't have a sales process that's like, okay, first we get on the call. During the call, I'm going to use this sales script to get this information out of it. After the call, I'm going to send this email. And after I send this email, I follow up in 48 hours. Like, if you don't have a clear process to take your clients through, they're not going to trust you as the leader that you are, because you don't have a clear process. So if you're all over the place, you're uncertain, you're unsure, then the client is going to lose confidence in you, whether they say it or not. So the best thing that you can do is to work with someone, or I don't know, the Speaker Ready Cash book that I wrote comes out November 15th. So obviously get that. But before that, come to the Speaker Ready Cash Live event. We're talking about your sales process. We're talking about your hot list, because what you need to start doing from the very beginning with corporations, with corporate clients, and it's not going to be a corporation you're on the phone with. It'll be one person typically you're on the phone with. And then if you move forward in the process, they may have you do some type of a quote unquote audition or something like that in front of a board. But for the most part, you're talking to an individual. Individuals that you're asking to sign your agreement need to feel that you are the expert that you say you are. So you need a clear process to walk them through. If you have that, you're going to be better off than someone who doesn't necessarily have that. So you definitely want to make sure you have a clear sales process. And then the other thing that costs people these deals, more so than, I didn't give them a list of 50 people to call, is they don't have a proprietary formula for how they get their clients results. Proprietary because they came up with it. They did the research to back it. They've done their own scientific studies or have scientific data to prove they are who they say they are. That's the stuff that will cost you the engagement, not being the sole source of that information, not being able to confidently say, if you like my formula, if you like my process, if you like the way I do things, I'm the only person in the world you can get this from. That is so powerful to be like, hey, I'm Ashley. We're the only firm in the world that can deliver the Currency of Confidence program, which is proven to get clients results, such as 96% of all people who go through our program feel better prepared to attack imposter syndrome immediately after. You know what I mean? Like having some data, and there's ways to collect that data that are not very laborious or hard or any of that, but you just need to track the progress of your people. This is a pro tip before I go to the third big myth that I encounter. But one thing I want to point out, a lot of people believe the only people that can track data to show the success of their program are people who teach sales. So like I teach sales, like my clients have made over $1 million a year in blah, blah, blah. Like they think that's the big thing. Like, oh, well, it's easy for her to say she teaches sales and she's helped negotiate millions of dollars of licensing deals. So she can say that. What data can I track? I teach kindness, or I teach empathy, or I teach confidence. What you're going to track, there's a couple of ways to do this. You need to know the starting point, which would mean you may need to develop, now I'm giving you guys real behind the veil stuff. You may need to develop a personalized assessment so that you can track where people are on the confidence curve, for instance. So we have the currency of confidence. We have an assessment for the currency of confidence. We can track where you fall on that scale. So you can take this in the beginning, you can take it after we work together, and then you can take it 30 days after we work together. And I can track where your confidence is and how you assess it leads to better outputs for you. And then I can take all that data, show it to the client, and resell them on the program, or sell them on an upsell, or sell them on something else. Not because I want to make money, but because the results speak for themselves and people become more confident after working with me. And that's a good thing for business. You know what I mean? So you do need to track. You need to have some way to track it. There's that. Number 3, big myth about landing 6-figure contracts that I'm trying to think about how I want to say this one. This one, and I won't be with you guys long because we're actually I'm about to hang out with the family in a little bit. But one big myth that I see is that people believe that becoming a speaker will be easy, feel good, and glamorous. And here's what I mean by that. I do business every week. And what I mean by doing business is like, I'm on the phones negotiating contracts. I'm closing deals. I'm talking to clients. I'm drafting contracts. I'm developing a sales plan for my own business. I'm helping clients. We helped a client this week, take a presentation. Like they had a sales package. It was like less than 10,000. We showed them how with the services they already have, they could sell that same package for or a different package for over $200,000 nationwide. Like we identify those types of opportunities for clients because strategically, like I'm a strategist. That's what I do. I do business every day of the week, but it's not like glamorous. Like I had a client that was like, can I shadow you for a day? And I'm like, that ain't gonna be that interesting. I mean, you're gonna learn some stuff, but it's not really glamorous. I'm not hopping on like gorgeous stages all the time and talking to people and doing all that. There was a time when I was doing all that, but here's another, I guess this would be myth number 4. But when I was doing that, when I was hopping on stages, getting my makeup done, hopping on stages all the time, every week, blah, 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 I was really tired and I was very burnt out. So just because you see people on these gorgeous stages doesn't mean that they're well paid from being on those gorgeous stages, which is why a foundational value of our company at Speak Your Way to Cash is we value being paid over pretty stages. Yes, you can have both, but if it comes one over the other, we value being paid over pretty stages. So it's not as glamorous as people may think. And a big misperception is like the vast majority of my time is spent selling more so than it's spent speaking, and that's by design. So I don't want to land, if I were to land $50,000, $200,000 contracts, we would need a certain number of contractors to fulfill those obligations. And we can do that. That's not my business plan right now. My business plan right now, and the reason why I readjusted my pricing and started doing licensing deals and started focusing more on negotiating for our clients than doing one-off legal services, which is why, if you look at how I positioned our firm a few years ago versus how we position it now I want you to bring me all your big deals. We're going to negotiate them. We're going to put them together. We're going to get you way more money than you would get on your own. Or I should say, because I don't want to give any guarantees, right? I should say that what we've done in the past is we've gotten clients way more money than they would have gotten on their own. And then we want to draft up the contract, but I'm not trying to be like your everyday random one-off lawyer. It's just not my business strategy because I decided to do less work but higher caliber work for a smaller segment of society that happens to pay a lot more. That's my business plan, mainly out of necessity. So if you are someone who doesn't have a team of hundreds of lawyers or hundreds of consultants or hundreds of other speakers, if it's just you, a couple of employees, or maybe even no employees and a couple of contractors, you really need to price yourself appropriately so that you can make the money you need to make to sustain as a business and to grow, but you won't be burnt out. So no, you're not going to see me hopping on 50 cute stages. You're just not. Here's another big myth though. And I think this myth is going to help a lot of y'all out, because some people you idolize is hopping on all these stages. I just want to really clarify this. There's this thing that happens when I tell people, hey, you know, I run Speaker Ready Cash. I'd love for you to come to our event, learn how we're closing these deals, multi-six-figure licensing deals, learn the business behind it, learn how you can implement it in your business. Some people get offended if they get invited. They get offended if I invite them because they're like, oh, no. Oh, I speak for big companies. I've landed engagements from Amazon and like they'll start listing all these companies, these really beautiful big name companies. But let me tell you something. I've worked with enough speakers to know this one fact. That has nothing to do with your income, because these glamorous companies, these big behemoth companies, while they do have the potential to give out large contracts, it does not mean they're doing it. Especially if you spoke on their, I don't want to get too specific, but like, especially if like you spoke in their Black History Month panel or you spoke in their, you know what I mean? Like, I have literally seen billion-dollar companies offer DEI experts and consultants a couple grand and been like happy, couple grand in a gift basket. So when the first thing a speaker tells me is like, oh no, I don't need your help because I have these big names on my, you know, you see the logos on the websites. I negotiate enough deals to know that doesn't mean anything. And I say that because I've seen people with deals from companies that you'd be like, oh my God, that had to have been $1 billion deal. And then you look at the contract and you're like, oh no, baby, this ain't enough. You know what I mean? So don't be tricked out here. Don't be impressed by the name of the company. Don't think that because the company that reached out to you is in Idaho and they deal with the fertilization of whatever, they can't sign a 5 or 6 figure deal, because I have seen smaller companies that you've never heard of sign deals larger than behemoth organizations that you definitely know and probably have their products in your house. So you can't get caught up in that. And I don't get caught up in that, which is why when people tell me that, I'm not like, oh, well, I'm sure you're rich. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't swayed. I'm not swayed, because the truth of the matter is companies will always disrespect you when you don't know how to negotiate. I don't even think they can help it, to be honest. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. Like, it's just a fact. So I guess if I were to add a bonus myth, it would be the larger the company, the larger the check. It's false. It's false. The larger the company, the larger the check. That is false thinking. The prettier the stage, the more paid. Also false. Also false. And to be true, and to be honest with you guys, the very things that get the most likes on social media are typically not the things that will get you paid at the highest level. Now, I've been talking about licensing for a while, and so now I'm seeing more people talk about, you know, licensing deals that they do and all that. But the truth of the matter is, it's not really a sexy thing. Licensing is a function of contract. It is a function of contract. Your licensing deal is very much so governed by what the terms are in your contract. And the more creative and the more strategic your legal team is, the more creative and strategic your licensing contract will be. But if you're someone who doesn't like to invest in legal, doesn't like to invest in working with true experts, and you're easily swayed by, you know, cute stages and pretty things, it's going to be hard for you to make like real money out here. The other thing is this. Let me think about how to frame this. The very thing that you're after is going to be the thing that doesn't necessarily feel good. So let's talk about how you get these deals just a little bit, because this is really about busting myths, but I guess there's some myths within this as well. People believe that they can have a business with consistent, predictable revenue without pitching. Also a myth. Now, there are some caveats to this. You can have a business based on referrals. However, when there is no diversity in how you sell and how you fill your pipeline, when there are downturns in the market, you are the most vulnerable. Here's what I mean. If all your business comes from referrals and God forbid your reputation takes a hit, it's going to be hard for you. If all your business comes from referrals and God forbid something happens with your relationship with your network for whatever reason, or several people in your network, it's going to be more difficult from you. If you want consistent, predictable revenue, more predictable revenue, one, you want the most predictable revenue. What you do is you set it up so that your clients are paying you every month. So you may do on-demand licensing of a particular course or program. And every month they're paying you a certain amount for as long as they're on that program. You sell a certain amount of those, you have predictable recurring revenue. You have more predictability than a lot of other people. Outside of that, you have a sales process where you can predict your numbers. So after a while, we knew if we were pitching 300 colleges a month, that will convert to X amount of dollars in revenue because we had done it for so many months. And not a month, 300 colleges a week. When we were focused solely on the college market, we knew all right, we do 300 a week. We pitch this person with this job title. It converts to 3 to 5 calls a week. That will give us a predictably full pipeline for the year. We had to do it every month. We had to do the same amount of pitches every week. We had to hit the same amount of calls every week. Those calls lasted for pretty much the same amount of time every week. We asked the same questions on those calls. So once you start to systematize your sales process, then you get more predictable revenue. And God forbid something happens in the market, you have a variety of ways you're selling. You're collecting referrals. You're also directly pitching. You're also doing content marketing, posting on social media, and you're doing it over and over and over again. And here's what I hear from people. Oh, well, Ashley, that's very overwhelming. I don't know what to do. Okay, well, you do it long enough to make enough money so that you can buy time. Well, how do you buy time? You hire people. They give you your time back. So now you're not the one pressing send on those emails every week. You don't even have to be the one doing that particular sales calls, like doing all the sales calls. You can outsource that after you have a sales script, after it's systematized, after you know what you're saying in the emails, know what you're saying on the calls, know what you're saying in your content. It becomes a lot easier at that point. But where I see people miss it is they get overwhelmed too easily and too quickly, and then they find some success, but it's sporadic success. And because they don't even act, and then some people don't want a direct pitch and they don't want to ask for referrals every single time. So it's like, it's not supposed to work at that point. You know what I mean? So, I hate to say it, but it is work. It is work. The glamorous part of it, the part that attracts most people watching and listening to this on the podcast, is the end result. However, the truth is you have to be committed to the process for the long haul because you understand how great the potential is. And I don't lie to you guys. Like I don't come on here and say, okay, you're going to make $1 million in a day or whatever, people say to get people to do their stuff. I don't do that. I don't have to do that. I was talking to my friend, Audrey, and I was like, man, I was commending her on her marketing. She owns the Uncloned Marketing brand because she doesn't do gimmicky marketing. Like she doesn't have to make false promises. You see what I'm saying? And that's really important because a lot of people will. But guess what? How many of you are over 30? If you're over 30, drop a yes in the comments. If you're over 30 and you're listening to this on the podcast, just nod. Because I'm going to tell you all the thoughts that I've been having. And I don't know if you've been having these thoughts, but these are the thoughts that I've been having. If you're on Clubhouse, you can shoot me a yes in the back channel. But for my folks over 30, like moi, I've been thinking a lot about, okay, if I were in a company right now, I would be senior at the company. And I would be looking at my 401k plan with my financial planner, and I would be determining my retirement. I would be figuring out, well, how am I going to provide for my family once I am done working? And I would be analyzing, okay, well, I'm going to need at least don't judge me, but at least like on the lowest end, because my house will be paid off and all of that by the time I'm done working, right? I would need at least $10,000 to $15,000 of income because, of course, we got to travel. We got a daughter. She's going to need stuff, whatever. Like lowest end, I would need that. And so I would be thinking like, okay, well, I'm going to guarantee my salary of X amount every year. And I'd be planning for the future. When you're an entrepreneur, what I find we like to do are the things that give us instant gratification, but that have no permanence over our business. So we want the client that's going to pay us today, that we don't have to do any sales calls for, that we can do a TikTok dance for, and they'll just click the pay button. Like that's the client that we want. The way corporate sales works is it builds on each other. Your relationships build. So the clients that I'm selling to now, I'm going to work with them, have a great relationship with them. They're in the employee market. They're going to keep growing and developing, getting higher up in their organizations. And eventually they're going to leave their organization. And what happens when my clients leave their organization? Well, they still like me. So they make sure that I get all the contracts for that company that they're leaving. They introduce me to the new person and they say, I'm leaving. They give me the contract for their next company. So now it's growing because this is how growth works. Often when you work with individuals, consumers, business owners, it doesn't necessarily happen like that. Like I run the companies that I run. I could see myself retiring, running the two companies that I run. The vendors that I work with, I'll keep working with them if they do good work, but it's the two companies. With employees, because think about it, in corporate, you're selling to employees. When they are at an organization and they grow and they expand and they get a new job and they introduce you to other people, they have that one relationship has the potential to expand into 4 or 5 different corporate relationships because employees move now more than ever. And unlike my consumer clients, my corporate and collegiate clients will call me Q4, which is right now, and say things like, hey, Ashley, we have an extra $30,000 in the budget. What can you do with that? We're looking to improve on A, B, and C. We like working with you. We want to give you a call. They will. I've never gotten those kind of calls. I've gotten it once or twice. I rarely get those kind of calls from consumers. It's not to say that consumers are not good clients. I love my consumer clients. I love my coaching clients. But it is to say, when I think about Ashley 50 plus years from now, and I want to sell my company and I want the valuation of that company to be large, it's the institutional, long-standing clients that are going to help my company valuation grow. It is what it is. It is what it is on that. And so for me, it's not optional to have institutional clients. What I like to do is have a healthy mix. I have coaching clients, I have consumer clients, I have people who just buy my stuff in my shop, and I have some really large corporate clients that I can rely on and that I can serve year over year, regardless of how the economy is doing. So you want to think of it as like not, oh, this is going to be a lot of work. I don't know. But it's like, no. You get this client now, and they are your client for life if you do a good job. They have the potential to be a client for life. We often talk about that first contract because for most people that I work with, I'm trying to get them to see that first contract, that first $50,000+ contract, that first six-figure contract is possible for them. But let's go deeper. Let's assume that all of you already believe you can get a 6-figure contract. You can believe it. Go with me. Imagine it's true for you, right? You get that 6-figure contract once, you fulfill on it over the course of a few years, right? And then at the end of that contract, you have all this good data about how well you've done for them. And so what happens next is what? They continue to work with you, because another thing I found with corporations, you go through their process, you get set up as a vendor, you learn the accounting department, you learn all the people you need to learn, you do all the stuff, right? They have your EIN, you submit your W-9, you do all the things to get set up. And then you have a good working relationship with them. They're not trying to change. When an issue comes up, they will either call you to fulfill the contract or call you to get a referral on fulfilling the contract. So these are not clients that you're like, let me just hurry up and get the first contract. Let me get the first sale. No. That first sale starts what could very well be a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50-year relationship. And those are the types of clients that help you to figure out your exit as an entrepreneur. This is how I'm thinking about things. So I told my husband very clearly, what we're doing next year is we're focusing even more We're going even deeper into the corporate relationships that we have. Why? Because we know that, hey, we may want to get the, like, if we want to sell or sell the company or bring in a partner or hire a lot more people or expand our relationship, expand our market share, it's going to require clients that can handle our transitions. If we want to add a suite of services, if we want to expand our licensing programs, you want to work with clients that, one, have ever evolving needs. And the reason why corporations and colleges have ever evolving needs is because they both have new batches of people that come in and out of those doors. Colleges, new students come in every single year. Always will have a reason to need consultants, speakers, thought leaders, and experts that can transform their students. Corporations, new employees come in every single year. So that said, they are the clients that you think about when building the legacy of your company. I wanted to give you guys that insight and our mindset behind why we serve who we serve, because it's critical. It's critical when you think about your exit plan. And I want you to really think about it. I know what it takes to sell to consumers because I do it. I have consumer clients. I also know what it takes to sell to corporations. If I were never on social media, if I never wanted to do another reel, if I never wanted to do another dance, if I never wanted to do another live, I could do offline marketing and I could sell to corporations. And I often think, in 30 years, will I have the energy, interest, and stamina to sell the way I need to sell to corporations or to consumers, which is very high touch? If the answer is no, you need a corporate sales plan. You need a corporate marketing plan that doesn't involve you being the face or you selling it. Because here's the other beauty. I have people that will message me on like Instagram and say, hey, I want to do this, but I want to make sure I'm only working with you. And I'm like, well, why? We have processes in our business such that your end result will be the same, if not better, working with my team. They wake up every day and the only thing they're thinking about is serving our clients because we pay them to do that. You're going to get an exceptional level of service. That doesn't so much happen with corporations because of the way we sell to them. Once a company is bought into, did we lose sound? Okay, discard. Oh. I'm going to see. It looks like we lost out on Instagram. Sergio, if you're listening to this, cut this part out. Once a company has bought into the fact of working with you on your process or on your program, then they're not going to care who fulfills it, because what you've sold them is the process. You've sold them the formula. So that's a really, really, really important piece of this. You want to make sure when you're selling to people, you're selling them on your process, your formula, not you. Not you. Because once you sell them on your process, once you sell them on your formula, you can then, as you scale and grow, easily bring in other consultants to fulfill that process, to fulfill that formula. Now, deeper level, you can certify all of your consultants in your process, in your formula, have a test that they go through to become certified, have requirements around their certification. So there's so much that you can do on a deeper level. It may not, and setting it all up won't be glamorous and sexy and may not be Instagrammable, but the truth is, this is why we sell to behemoth organizations. This is why we sell to big companies. This is why we do it, because eventually you may want to go sit down somewhere. Okay. Like building a business is such mentally strenuous work. If I'm being honest, can we just be real about that? It's work. Thank you so much, Beth. It's work. It is work to build a business. And when I started to think about, just being 100% transparent with you all, when I started to think about where I'm going to be in 10 years, where I'm going to be in 20 years, the sure strength that it has taken me to build the company as big as it is in 3 years, I was not convinced that I would be comfortable selling the way that we sell now to like forever, because it's just a lot of work. And eventually I may not want to be on social media at all. And that's okay in the corporate space. It's not really, it's harder in the consumer space. There's ways to do it. but it's harder in that space. And so for me, I just think about longevity. You know, when my daughter is old enough to be in programming and activities, I'm not missing nothing at all for nobody. And so I needed to make sure that I had clients who understood not only is Ashley great, but she has a process, she has a system, she has a proprietary framework and formula that anyone trained in that process and system could effectuate in our organization. So that's really important to me. And that's why we set up clients the way we do. So I would go back and do a recap. I don't know if I'm going to remember all of the myths, but this video was about myths about landing six-figure contracts. The first myth that we busted is that you have to put a whole lot into the contract. I gave you all an example of our recent six-figure contract that we were a part of. It was like 5 workshops and a couple of consulting sessions. Not a lot of stuff needs to go into these proposals in order for them to get up to 6 figures. 2, there was the second myth was like, I have to be speaking for 10 or 20 years before I can land one of these contracts. Not true. Just simply not true. We also talked about the myth that like big company equals big check. Not true. Pretty stage equals well paid. Not true. That it's going to be easy. Not true. Not true at all. That like you're going to lose a contract if you don't have a long track record of clients that your potential client can talk to. Also not true. Not something that I have been asked specifically, but I've had a client ask to talk to former clients, and we've been able to provide that, obviously. But what's more important is that you have a proprietary framework. You have a proprietary framework. And that is exactly what we're going to be covering at Speak Your Way to Cash Live. This is actually the workbook from the event. Not only do you get the workbook, but you'll get a soft cover copy of the actual book, which is now available for pre-order. Speak Your Way to Cash, how to start at the top of the speaking market instead of working your way up from the bottom. And I wrote the book, y'all, because like I said, I love coaching, right? I love my consumer clients. However, I do have a lot of goals and a lot of aspirations, and I didn't want to leave the industry. Not that I'm leaving the coaching industry for good, but I didn't want to stop doing as much coaching without leaving behind a blueprint, if that makes sense. That's why I wrote the book. So it's really good, really detailed, 274 pages. Your girl wrote a lot. But at the event, Speak Your Way to Cash Live, if you do not have your ticket already, I literally don't know what you're doing, because this is like a $20,000 event. And you can attend even for the VIP ticket for under $3,000. It's literally like we're not even close to getting into the value with these prices. We wanted to make it accessible. 3 days of coaching. To put it in perspective, a VIP day with me is $25,000. So you get to come to get 3 days of coaching at an event for like a fraction of the cost of my time. So you definitely want to make sure you're in the building. And we did get we got a question. Let me see if it'll show up. So I'm going to answer your question in just a minute. That's a really good question. So what you get at the event, I'm going to read you guys literally some of the sessions from our workbook. And one of the things you're going to get is like the Dreamer's Den, mastering the corporate landscape, building your framework and positioning your solution for profit, pricing pathology, setting and framing your price to serve you and your clients, exploding your brand with TV exposure, developing a hot list, assembling your 6-figure package, pitching to corporations with ease, the language lab, which is where I'll give you guys various words to use on your sales process, on your sales call that will help you overcome objections, the possibilities panel, and then delivering an impeccable speech through storytelling. And then we have an implementation workshop. So basically, and then each of those modules that I just discussed that we're going to go over at the event, there's 13, has its own like section in the workbook. So it is very interactive. You will walk away with the workbook. Literally the box that you get pre-event is worth the cost of the event, because there's swipe files in here. In the workbook, there's a portion where I break down the sales process into phases and make it really clear and evident how to use each of the questions and what to do in each of the sections of the sales process. It's really, really good. And underneath each of the sections of the sales process, I actually give language that you can just read off during your sales calls. Gold, right? I almost showed y'all gold. So if you don't have your ticket yet for the event, you need to get it ASAP. I think there's like 20 days left for you to even get all of the bonuses for the event. So get your tickets today. If you thought this was good, the event's going to blow your mind. Get your ticket today. So we have a question. Proprietary framework, does that mean a copyright? Very good question. Proprietary framework, that's your formula. It's your formula for getting your clients success. I do have trademarks on my formulas, but I don't play about trademarks. Being an IP lawyer, I know how important having your foundational intellectual property protected is. We've literally seen people lose money on deals because they didn't have their trademarks and copyrights in order. However, what I will say is I trademark, if it's a name, it's unique to me, we trademark it. We have filed 4 trademarks. During the course of planning this event. 4 trademarks. We have a trademark pending for Dreamers Den, Language Labs, Story Selling Secrets, and Pricing Pathology. 4 trademarks. 4 trademarks. So that is for sure what we've done. And it's, I definitely think that. So your framework is going to be your formula for getting your client success. You should put a name to it. You should have it positioned to actually pitch and sell to clients. And you should make sure that you let them know that you're the only company in the world who can deliver that out. We got a question on LinkedIn. I am primarily a facilitator versus a speaker. I put them all in the same boat. Like speaker, facilitator, consulting, it's all encompassed in the 6-figure packages that we do. Train, licensing, etc. No. So at the event, we are going to go over how speakers, facilitators, and consultants, thought leaders, and experts can make a 6-figure package for a corporation. So that's exactly where you want to be. I hope that answers the question. I put it all together. I kind of said that earlier. When I say speaker, I mean like you do workshops, you do consulting, you facilitate trainings, you do curriculum design, instructional design. Like these are all pieces of 6-figure licensing deals and workshops and things that we've done. I'm trying to look in the back channel because we have some stuff here too. But yeah, okay, I see you, Tabitha. I appreciate that. So yeah. So that I'm hoping that was helpful to you, but that's essentially what we teach and what we're going to be going over for the 3 days in the event. Okay, good. You don't need to be like a keynote speaker, guys. And I'll say something else. I have a personality. So I like keynoting. I like doing all that stuff. I'll say I have a big personality, but I work with a lot of introverts, great personality types, but they're not interested in like getting up on a stage and keynoting and doing all of that, but they're experts. They know their stuff. I imagine similar to you, Sharon. And so they all have still been very successful. Many of them have been very successful in landing larger contracts without the traditional keynoting that everyone, hears about or talks about. So definitely Speaker Ready to Cash Live is for you. We have time to do hot seats. Oh, I didn't even mention that. We have all these sessions. We have breakout sessions where you all will get to talk to each other and work through some examples and some workshop questions. We also have volunteers solely dedicated to making sure folks online get the attention they deserve, get their questions answered, flagging me down so I answer you all's questions. But we also have hot seats, and that has been literally worth the cost of admission for a lot of our attendees. It's where after I talk about pricing pathology, we bring someone up and we rework their pricing. And I show them how their pricing could be enhanced and how they could position their pricing for a corporate audience to land larger contracts. This is our 6th event. It's really hard to even put in words how great the event is. Seriously. And I'm not just saying that. But as you all know, if you look at my Instagram, I've been posting a review every day for the past 30 or 40 days. We have hundreds of reviews from people saying how dope the event is. So take their word for it, not mine. But listen to the Speaker Ready Cash podcast. It's really a low risk. And honestly, this event is worth way more than $20,000. And I'm not even charging that. At all. Like it's under $3,000 for the virtual ticket. I think for the virtual ticket, I think it's like $1,500, maybe even less. So it's definitely not, you're not like you, this is an investment you definitely need to make, because as it relates to working with me, that's not really, you all know I'm kind of an investment. So definitely get in there, get in there. Okay. So appreciate you guys so much. I'm going to see if there's any questions on Clubhouse. Otherwise, I will talk to you guys later. Feel free to share this with someone who needs it.